Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf. Normally, I introduce this kind of this kind of video, the to be released books with it's the beginning of the month and it's time for new books. Well, if you don't film for 2 weeks, it's not the beginning of the month anymore. When you film your to be released video, it's the middle of the month. But hey, we, let's just roll with it. So it's the middle of the month and I haven't filmed my TBR video for the purpose of this video. As you all know, TBR means to be released, new books in the month of September. As always, I look at the new releases and then I pick a couple that I find interesting. And September was a difficult month, not like in August or in July when there was very, very little newly published, or very, very little, I'm exaggerating, but it was not, the pool of books was not that big. September, we have the opposite problem. It's big release month. So there were so many books that I would have loved to talk about, but as always, I limited myself to 5 of them. And as always, we start with general fiction. And that was a really difficult, what do you care? I picked one out of all the new releases in general fiction that I find interesting. And I chose Sigrid Nunne's new book, What Are You Going Through? It has been published already. That's what you get when you are late. Publication date was the 8th of September. And Sigrid Nunnes is an American author who discovered is maybe the wrong word, but rediscovered with her 2018 novel, The Friend, which also won the National Book Award. And I love that book. The tale about a woman grieving about a friend who committed suicide, and as an inherited, so to speak, she inherited his big dog. Anyway, The Friend. But the new book is again about the life of a woman with her friends, and in particular this time a terminally ill friend for whom she cares, as that's at least what I understood. But it's also her encounters with various people in her life, people she knows well, people she just chance encounters. And I just like Sigrid Nunne's style of talking about, life and grief, empathy. So when I saw that she had a new book out, I just had to pick it, despite all the other wonderful general fiction books that will come out in September. I chose Sigrid Nunne's What Are You Going Through for the general fiction pick of the September TBR. Next, we move on to nonfiction. And for that category, I picked Claudia Rankine's new book, Just Us, An American Conversation, which also has been published already, also on the 8th of September. Claudia Rankine was born in 1963 in Jamaica, in Kingston. She lives in the US now, and she is a poet, a playwright, and an essayist. And I saw an interview once with her when she said, I write in order to spark a dialogue. I'm sure she said it more beautifully than I did, but that's her intention. And I admire her work greatly. And this new one, Just Us, is very topical because it is about race. It's a combination of poems and essays and images, trying to illuminate, if you will, this very important topic from various angles and to spark a conversation. So I don't know quite what to expect when I read that it's a combination of poems and essays and images, but knowing Claudia Rankine, I'm sure it's fabulous. So I'm looking forward to this one, Just Us, a conversation about present-day United States and especially about race. Next, we move on. Sorry about that. To translated fiction. And for this category, I picked Scholastic Mukasonga's new book, Igifu. That has been published already, but only just yesterday, the 15th of September. Scholastic Mukasonga was born 1956, yes, in Rwanda, and she was displaced with her family in the early 1960s, and then she settled in France in 1992, and 2 years later, of course, you all know, the civil war and genocide happened in Rwanda. And I know this author because she published a book about her experience, her family's experience, because more than 25 members of her family were massacred during the Civil War in the mid-1990s. And she published a book about that, an autobiographical book called Cockroaches in 2006. And that was a fabulous book. Not an easy read, for sure, but fantastic. And this new book, Igifu, is also about Rwanda, set in Rwanda, and about the Civil War and the genocide, but in short stories, a collection of short stories. And the title story, Igifu, I don't know whether it's the first one, but it's the title story, and Igifu means hunger. I'm sure it won't be an easy read either because of the topic, but I feel the topic is important. I need to read more about that. And given the fact how fantastic the memoir was, Cockroaches, I have really high hopes for this book, despite the fact that I know it won't be an easy read. So Igifu by Scholastic Mukasonga is my pick for the category translated fiction for the to be released in September. Already has been released in September. The next category is crime, and you might not be surprised if you follow my channel that I chose Jane Harper's new book, The Survivors, which will actually be published in the future, 22nd of September. Jane Harper was born in the UK, but she moved to Australia when she was 8, and she has been living in Australia ever since, so I consider her an Aussie author. Hence the hashtag AussieLit in the description box. She was born in 1980, by the way, just in case you're interested, details. And you probably heard of her or read one of her previous books that were really successful, especially The Dry, crime novels that are set in Australia. I thought The Dry was fabulous. I wasn't that, I thought the second one, Force of Nature, it was good, but just not as good as The Dry. But the third one, The Lost Man, was also fantastic. So when I saw that she had a new book out, it was obvious that this book had to be included in the September TBR. This book is also set in Australia, in a small fictitious town in Tasmania, and the main character, Kieran Elliott, returns with his wife and young child, just a baby, to his hometown after 12 years of absence. There has been an event 12 years ago during a storm, and something happened, I don't know what, and that has haunted Kieran ever since. And when he returns home in order to help his parents and his ailing father to move house, of course a murder happens and plot ensues from there. That's all for the plot I need to know for a murder mystery. I don't need to know any details because most of the details will be spoilers. But if it's as good as The Dry or A Lost Man, then I know that I'm in for a real treat. I think Jane Harper is one of the best crime authors, contemporary crime authors in the present day. So I'm really excited about this new release on the 22nd of September. And as always, we end the TBR with a sci-fi, with a novella this time by Aaron K. Wagner. I have difficulties pronouncing names today. I'm sorry about that. Aaron K. Wagner, An Unnatural Life, which has also been published yesterday. Aaron K. Wagner is a US-American author. She lives in upstate New York, and she has published a previous novella beginning of last year, The Green and the Growing, which I haven't read. I just want to mention it. And this new novella it sounds like my kind of sci-fi because it's sci-fi and crime. So you have this cybernetic life form called 812-3 that has been convicted of murdering a human being, a human worker, but claims that they are innocent. And there's a lawyer, that's always good, who tries to uncover the truth and find a defense. And the cybernetic life forms have just been granted legal rights on Earth, but the crime, supposedly, the alleged crime, has been taken place on a Jovian moon, so it's not clear whether the legal rights also apply there. I mean, probably, I don't know whether that sounds boring to you, but I'm a lawyer by trade, so that intrigues me immediately. And this idea of what kind of rights we give to what kind of life forms, and then the whole mystery element, that's something that sparks my interest, at least. And so I put this novella, An Unnatural Life, on the September TBR in the category sci-fi. And this was it for my very belated, I'm sorry again, September TBR, which is not even a TBR to be released except for one book, because all the other books have been released already, but never mind. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments whether there are September books that you are excited about in particular, or whether any of the books that I featured interest you. Looking forward to your comments, of course, as always, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.